So we're going to go ahead and get started. For anybody who joins us later, if you guys could just write your name in the chat, and also the chat is going to be open throughout the entire webinar. So feel free to drop in any questions at any time, any comments. Lewis and I will both be on the chat as we're talking through. And yeah, today we're going to be talking about SEO hacks for a stronger online presence. And we've got Lewis here, who is our guest speaker. He's joining us from Crocus Solutions. He's the founder and owner. And Lewis, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody, the stage is yours.
Yeah, for sure. So I mentioned the kids upstairs running around. We've got 4 kids, so that keeps us busy. But quick backstory, grew up on a farm, worked summers part-time through school doing construction, and then did construction for 4 years after school. And then I said, hey, I'm looking for a challenge, looking for a bit of a change. So I went and got a degree in mechanical engineering. As soon as that was finished, our first kid was born, and I was like, whoa, this is going to be crazy, trying to be, a full-time employee and, raise kids and do all the sports stuff and all of that comes with it. So I said, why don't I combine my growing love of marketing that was happening at the time with my love of the trades, combine that into what is now Crocus Solutions. So that started in 2019, going on 5 years now. And it's been a wild ride. We're learning stuff every day. Partway through there in 2021, started a junk removal business here locally with a partner of mine. Worked heavily in that, getting it going for a year. Now I just work on the marketing side and he runs it, but gained a lot of insight into the junk industry, which is why, we're focusing a lot on the industry now. And it's been a really fun ride. So excited to talk about some of the stuff I learned through that and bring that to you guys here.
Awesome. So what other industries do you work with? Is it primarily junk removal, or are there other field service industries that you're working with?
So we started serving everybody in the home service industry. So we have worked with a variety from asphalt paving to roofing to HVAC, plumbing, junk removal, tree service. And we still have a smattering of clients in those industries. Junk removal is the one we're working the hardest to grow and become that leading expert in the junk removal niche, and you become the go-to for that.
Awesome. So for you guys listening in, if you want to go ahead and write what industry you're a part of, just so we can kind of familiarize ourselves with who we have here, that would be really nice. And we're going to go ahead and continue. So I see we've got some junk removal, locksmith, garage door. See a few junk removals.
Awesome. HVAC, garage door. Good variety here, and this will be applicable to any industry. I'll speak to the junk removal guys specifically, but it'll be everybody, every home service industry. SEO is such a key part, and we'll get into that here in a bit.
Definitely.
Yeah, Matt Moses has his hands in a lot of different niches as well.
Oh wow, yeah, very nice. So for the agenda, we're going to talk about what is SEO, understanding it, what the benefits of SEO are for your business. We're going to talk about what the key components are. Then we'll do a drill down on keyword research, content creation, link building, and all the best practices that Lewis will share with us. Afterwards, we'll talk about how we can measure SEO success and what tools and resources exist to do that. And then we'll open it up for a dedicated Q&A session at the end. But as we mentioned earlier, if anybody has any questions throughout, we really encourage it. We want to make this webinar, as engaging and useful for everyone as possible. And for those of you who aren't in junk removal and are part of the HVAC and garage door and other field service businesses, like Lewis said, this is applicable for everyone, and SEO is super important for field service and beyond. I mean, as a product marketing manager at WorkKeys, we're constantly utilizing SEO to promote WorkKeys and get the word out there. And that's a key part of our business and our marketing strategy. So yeah, we definitely want to equip all of you guys with SEO understanding and how you can go ahead and do this for your business. So let's start about the basics of understanding SEO. So Lewis, if you could please provide us a concise definition of what is SEO and why is it essential in today's digital landscape?
Yeah, for sure. So SEO, it's an acronym, search engine optimization. It's a airy-fairy term that marketers throw around to take lots of money from people, is what we see a lot. Not to throw marketers under the bus, because I am one, but it is something that the more you understand, the more you can hold your agency accountable to what exactly they're doing or what they're supposed to be doing. And if you're someone who likes to get in there and get your hands dirty, it's also something you can do. It's not rocket science, right? So ultimately, Google is selfish. Google, I'm going to use Google predominantly here in this chat. Bing, DuckDuckGo, they all have their algorithms in their search engines. Google has the most traffic of all the search engines. So I'm going to talk a lot about Google, but the same stuff applies to the different search engines as well. But essentially, Google is selfish, right? And so when someone goes to look up tree service or HVAC in your area or junk removal, Google wants that person to stay on their platform and not go over to Bing or not go over to Yahoo search. They want them to stay on Google, and they want them to find what they need. Otherwise, they are going to go to those other search engines. So what we're doing with SEO, with search engine optimization, is optimizing your website, or you can be doing this yourself, optimizing your website so that you tell Google and you tell people what you do, where you do it, how you do it, why you're the person to come to, how much your stuff costs, what makes you different from other people, answering these questions that people have, so that when they're searching those things, boom, Google says, all right, cool, we're comfortable that your website has the authority and the answers the questions that people have. We'll put you up there near the top, because their reputation is on the line every time they serve someone up, and they want to protect that.
Definitely. So how does it work exactly? If you could give us like a broad overview of how SEO works and what role specifically do the search engines and the algorithms have with that?
So essentially, what I said before, Google's looking to see authority. That's a very commonly thrown around term, but what Google's looking for is how well you tell it what you do and where you do it. You're going to hear me say that a lot, right? What you do, where you do it, does your website actually match up with the search intent? So how does SEO work, or how do the algorithms work? Google's always fine-tuning those. That's our game. That's our dance to try and figure out what they're looking for, to try and show them the things that they want to be seeing. But essentially, if you step back, Google is trying to emulate and figure out from the millions of websites that are out there what the best answer for someone's search is. So they're trying to understand search intent. They're trying to understand, where someone's searching from. So, the location on your phone plays into it a lot, especially like with Google business profiles. So if you can think about it from that perspective, from someone who's searching, what are they looking for? What is Google probably wanting to match up with them? And then, there's a long checklist of things in there, and we'll touch on some of them. But Google's trying to give the best solution, and sometimes they really mess it up, and sometimes they nail it. And we're trying to figure that out every time they do an algorithm update.
Definitely. Great. So what exactly are the differences between SEO and traditional marketing efforts? And then if you could touch on the cost effectiveness of either method.
Yeah. So, there's many different types of traditional marketing, right? But there's networking, there's ads, there's search engine optimization, digital marketing, your website, your Google business profile, social media can be lumped in there as well. But the difference is, let's take Yellow Pages. We used to go to the phone book. This was kind of like at the very beginning of my life. But phone books used to be the thing, right? We would go to the Yellow Pages and we would pull up, who's the tree service company that we need to be hitting, or who does junk removal, or who does HVAC. And we'd scroll down through and we'd find their name and number and give them a call. No one does that anymore. It's all the online web is ultimately what people are using now. And so you need to be doing your networking. You need to be doing your social media. You need to be doing all these things. But if you're missing out on the SEO piece, we just brought on, as an example, a client that has 400 dumpsters in his arsenal in Ontario. And he didn't really have a website, and he wasn't doing any marketing. He was paying $40K every 3 months to TV ads and doing some direct mail marketing. And he was wondering why things were dying. And I was like, all right, I think we can help you. We're gonna come in and really help things out. So traditional marketing, social media, digital marketing, they're all important. Some industries more important than others for those specific tools. But I'm a believer that search engine optimization is one of the better ones. I wouldn't be here talking about it if I wasn't. You talked about how Workies is going hard in SEO. We're doing that as well. So Blue Crocus Solutions, SEO is a very important thing. We just wrote a huge blog that you're going to put on your blog. I'm doing this webinar. These are, of course, I want to bring an impact to the industry, but selfishly as well, it's going to bring brand awareness and more credibility to our brand on Google. So what I'm doing here is helping our SEO, right? So I think that answered your question. I think you might have had one question, but I forgot the last part of it.
Yeah, the cost effectiveness of SEO and how does that impact the cost of marketing?
Yeah. So success leaves clues, guys. Junk removal specifically, 1-800-GOT-JUNK, they are going hard on their SEO. They run ads, of course, but if you look at their trends over time, like I can look at that with some of our software, Ahrefs being one, they are going hard. They're constantly adding blog posts. They're constantly adding, tweaking their pages. Home Advisor, Angie's List as well. Everybody hates them, but everybody knows them because they always show up at the top of the search results because they put so much effort into it. SEO is the one marketing avenue that I see that the cost actually goes down over time. People are like, what does that mean? Well, if you're paying an agency, let's take an agency example, right? Let's say you're paying an agency $1,000 a month. You don't really get jobs off of it for the first couple 3 months, and then you start getting more jobs, and then that trend line goes up typically exponentially. It's not an instant thing, it's an investment thing. But then eventually you're still paying the same amount to that agency, but you're getting way more jobs. So your cost per lead consistently goes down over time. Very expensive at the beginning if you break it out on a per lead basis, but the investment side of it is phenomenal. Ads, typically the cost per lead is just going up. I mean, we're seeing that especially now. 4 years ago, ad costs to now is it's kind of scary when you look at it. But SEO over time, you're going to, assuming it's being done right, it's going to compound and snowball for you.
100%. Okay, so now we're going to talk more into the specifics of the benefits that SEO has on your business. All right, so let's go ahead and start with how SEO can contribute to increased visibility. I think we spoke about this a little bit, but maybe if you could explain it a bit more in depth. And for everyone listening, if you guys have questions about the benefits of SEO, specific questions, then go ahead and write them in the chat.
Yeah. So I'm going to dive into a little bit of strategy here because, I mean, this is a fairly high level webinar right now, and we're kind of touching on some of the main points. Drop it in the chat, guys, if you want us to dive more into some of these specific topics later on. Ronnie and I were talking about it before, and we've kind of thrown around the idea if there's enough interest, we'll break down, you'll see we'll dive into keyword research and backlinks and stuff. But you asked, how can SEO contribute to increased visibility? Let's take your Google business profile, for example. If you just throw your Google business profile up there, fill in the basic bit and then be like, all right, cool. I'm going to put it up. It's a free thing. Awesome. Fantastic. If you just leave it there and then sit back and complain, 2 months later that you're not getting leads off your Google business profile, well, there's probably a reason, right? Think back again to Google is selfish. Google is ultimately wanting to serve up the best results for its consumers. So in your Google business profile, there's a bunch of things you can do to better tell Google what you're doing, right? You can get people to ask questions and then you can answer them on there. Reviews is probably the number one thing I'm going to tell you, like especially junk removal, HVAC, tree service. You're doing a lot of jobs quickly. You should be getting 5 to 10 reviews every week. Let that sink in, guys. Some of you are getting like 1 review every month. 5 to 10 reviews, like every 30% of the jobs that you do, you should be getting a review from at a minimum. So think about that. Reviews drive that. Replying to the reviews, adding pictures and videos on your Google business profile. You can actually rename the videos and the pictures before you upload them. So where it says image 54321 or whatever, as it comes off your phone, you can change that to, junk removal services in Kansas City, or whatever job you're specifically doing. Removing a downed tree on an emergency tree removal in XYZ location. So you can rename those pictures before you upload them, and that's going to have a big benefit. The description, talk about what you're doing, where you're doing it, the different services that you do. Don't just say junk removal or tree service. Get detailed, like, hey, we do garage cleanouts, we'll do estate cleanouts, or we'll do emergency tree service or tree trimming or thinning or whatever. You want to hit those terms because that's what people are searching for. So if it's on your business profile, Google now knows better what you're doing, and that's a big deal. So we went through pictures, we went through reviews. You've got to be getting more reviews. You can get people to ask questions and then you can answer them. You can fill out your products and services. Make sure all your services are filled in the back end. These are some actionable things that you can do that are technically considered SEO. And that's going to help you to show up better.
100%. If we could talk a bit about how SEO helps generating targeted traffic and targeted leads, so a little bit more about like the targeting of SEO.
Yeah. So I'm going to step back a little bit. I think that the core of your SEO campaign should be your website. Everything should point back to your website. So number one, make sure you own your domain. Go check that if you don't. I've talked to so many people who don't own their domain. They come over to work with us, and then some people have had to pay $2,000 to get their domain back. Some people have had to start from scratch. So your domain is kind of your root for this whole thing. You build your website and you attach it to your domain. And then your Google business profile, your Facebook page, your Yelp, your LinkedIn, they all link back to your website. And Google's, looking at each one of those things specifically, but your website is such a key part. So the targeting of that, let's take junk removal, for example. I was talking to a potential client the other day, and they're like, well, I think I only need like a page on my website. And then, I want to do SEO. And I was like, well, if you want to really kickstart things, you can build a page for every single service that you offer. When we build out our junk removal website, like for the business that I started, within a month, we had 50 pages up.
Oh, wow.
Here's something that a lot of people don't know. Google doesn't rank websites. Google ranks pages. So if you have a specific page for each specific service that you offer, you can then stand a much higher chance of that specific page showing up. So shed demolition, for example. If someone's looking for shed demolition in XYZ location, you can have a whole page talking about what shed demolition is, how you guys do it, what they need to do to prepare before they call you. If it's a hot tub, they need to have all the electrical undone, disconnected before you get there, etc. And then you can list off a bunch of questions that you typically get with their answers. And so now you've got this whole website page, 1,000, 1,500 words that are super targeted on that specific service. When someone searches for shed demolition, I think that's what we were talking about. When someone searches for shed demolition, it's not your homepage that's going to show up anymore. It's going to be your specific shed demolition page. So that's a way you can really get targeted.
Yeah, no, that's a really, really good insight. Thank you for sharing that. And 50 pages, right away in your previous business, that's a really great idea to go ahead and get more traffic. So I hope that was valuable insight for you guys out there. Let's talk a little bit about brand credibility and trust. We know that gaining potential leads and potential customers' trust is super important and retaining that throughout. So in what way does SEO improve brand credibility and trust for future users and existing users?
Yeah, so I think it plays into itself, right? So I think SEO can help improve it, but brand credibility and trust can actually massively help SEO, right? It can massively help your rankings. We've seen clients that they had a ton of traffic to their Google business listing. They just didn't have a website, so they weren't getting any conversions. And then they took all that brand credibility that they had from networking, from their Google business listing showing up, from all the in-person boots on the ground stuff. You put a website and an SEO strategy behind it, and boom, it takes off like wildfire. But if we're starting a website from scratch and someone has no brand presence at all in the community, it's a lot harder to move the needle. So what Google is looking at with your brand is, number one, is it consistent across everything online? So if you're on directory listings, is it your name, address, phone number the same across all the different directories? Have you built up, shout outs on social media that are also mentioning your website, linking back to it? Are you on LinkedIn? Do you have a LinkedIn page? You can actually rank your LinkedIn page. You can actually rank your Yelp page. And so these are all things that Google they're signals to Google of, hey, it's showing up here, it's showing up here. We've got the website, the Google business listing, the Facebook page, the Pinterest page, the Facebook, LinkedIn, Yelp, all these different things. You're building that brand. You're showing up on podcasts. That's an underrated strategy. I've had people on my podcast, and that's helped them. Like clients, we'll have them on our podcast to give them another mention, right? Mm-hmm. So the more you can build your brand, the more that's going to help your SEO in the sense of Google sees you everywhere, and that trust is being built that you're an actual real entity. You're not just some fly-by-night thing.
Yeah, definitely. So let's go ahead and jump into the key SEO components, the fundamental components of SEO. So if you could explain to us what these components are, what is content optimization, keyword research, meta tags? These are all terms that we hear when talking about SEO, but if you could break those down for us, that would be really helpful, I think, for everyone here.
Yeah, for sure. They're the gobbledygook that no one really knows, but everyone says it's so important, right? So if we kind of go back to the website, right? If we take the website as our foundational thing, that's what we're going to be talking about here. Is we call it on page in the industry. Your words on your website, the way that you structure your website, what you tell Google in the different places that Google wants to see. So meta tags, title tags. A title tag simply is that text that you see at the top of your browser when your tab is open. That text there is your title tag. The meta tags is what's underneath, the title tag in the search results. And then you've got what's called H tags. So the different headings on your page, Google looks at those things in that hierarchy. Title tag, I think it might be title tag, meta tag, and then the H tags. Sometimes they switch up what they're paying attention to, but you want to be telling Google in each of those spots what you do and where you do it in different ways. You don't want to just say junk removal in Kansas City, junk removal in Kansas City over and over again. But if you can continue to have useful info for people looking, but also for Google, that's going to be important. Now, content is the words on the page. And there's so much buzz right now about AI content and human written content. I'm a big believer in using AI to help determine what strategy you're going to use, or help you to write your content brief, or to help you write your outline. But you've got to have human operated AI. That's my belief. I don't think that AI is going to make humans obsolete in the same way that when, if you take the car industry, when they went from hand making the parts to using CNC mills, it didn't make the workers obsolete. It just meant that workers had to upskill and then, start using a different set of machines that allowed them to make a whole bunch more parts faster. I think that's what AI is going to do. ChatGPT, if you haven't played around with it yet, it's I would say the most ubiquitous AI operator out there. Take a look at that. Take a look at some of the other ones. But content on your page, you have to think about it from the perspective of the user. So what are they asking? What questions do they have? Are they worried about you coming out on time? What's your scheduling process? What's your process for if you're going to be late? Will you tell us the day of when you're going to arrive? What's your pricing like? Are you going to come out and then just, are you going to give me a quote over the phone and then, come out and raise the price when you see it? What's your process? You can tell people all of this, and that's very useful. And it's also content that most other people aren't talking about. A really good book is They Ask You Answer by Marcus Sheridan. One of the best books on content out there. If you haven't read it or watched any of his talks, I would highly recommend it. But he talks about that. He took a pool company from dying in 2008, like pretty much going bankrupt, to being the #1 ranking pool company in the world by using this strategy. He's based out of Vermont, I believe, and he's getting calls in Australia asking him to come install pools because they've seen his website and they just love everything about his content. So content optimization is key, and you don't want just a ton of words. Yeah, it looks like Rose just popped it in there in the chat. Definitely go grab that, guys. But you don't want just a ton of words. You do want a good amount of words on your page, but it's got to be useful. So if you're looking for content ideas, think again about what the client wants to know. And then you can go to Google and search, tree service near me or junk removal near me. And in the search results, there'll be a people also ask section. You can click into those and it'll start populating a bunch more. And boom, you just got direct from Google the things that people are looking at and asking questions about. And you can write content about that. You can write blog posts. You can write FAQs on your page. You can write different content about that. So content optimization, I think we could do a whole webinar on that, but that's some high level stuff around that. I hope that was helpful.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that I can tell you that I use AI on a daily basis. Again, I also am a big believer in human operated AI, as you said, Lewis, but it just gives you such a good bone structure, such a good direction, a starting point. Instead of starting from zero, you get ideas generated, with AI in seconds in front of your eyes. And then you can decide, which direction you want to take with that. So if you guys haven't played around with ChatGPT, highly recommend it for content creation and beyond. But it's definitely a tool that we're hearing all about. Definitely something that's going to be incorporated into Worky's product going forward. So AI is the future, and the sooner that we start playing with it and seeing how it can work for us, the better we'll be. So yeah, we spoke about content optimization, keyword research, meta tags, and also how important the headers in the website are as well for SEO purposes. Let's talk a little bit about backlinks, social signals, and online reputation. What does this mean and why is it important?
Yeah, for sure. I see
Oh, wait,
Andrew's question.
yeah, I see we have a few
Well, I
comments in
can
the
answer
chat.
Andrew's question there. So he said, I wish Google indexing didn't take so long for new pages. So Andrew, if you're not, you might be using this already, drop it in the comments. But if you haven't checked out Google Search Console, it's a free tool that Google provides, and you can actually set your website up on it. And then you can, when you make new pages, you can go in and request indexing. Now, it's not going to happen instantly. It puts you in a queue, but at least it says, hey, Google, I'm over here. I made some new pages. Can you come and, crawl it? You can still make new pages and request indexing, and they won't index. Sometimes Google just doesn't think they're unique enough to index, or sometimes you'll have pages that were indexed and then it will take them out of indexing. It depends on the scenario. You kind of have to dive into them on a case-by-case basis. But sometimes it's just your content's not unique enough and informative enough, and Google will take it down out of the search results because it just doesn't want to use the bandwidth there. Yeah, Charles is coming in with that there. Internal links, social signals, backlinks, that segues well into this next thing. So backlinks, what are they? A lot of people get confused about these. You can go on Fiverr and you can buy 1,000 backlinks. You can, do a bunch of things and get a bunch of backlinks. Now, is that always a good thing? No. Not all backlinks are created equal, but let's talk about what a backlink is. A backlink is essentially when another website links back to you. So I talked about how this webinar, me writing a blog for Workies, is essentially something that's going to help our SEO. So when they put the blog up on their website, it's going to link back to our website, and that's a backlink. And essentially that's saying to Google, hey, there's this blog post, it's awesome, but you can also go over and see more about what Blue Crocus did. So the same thing can be for your business, and should be for your business, where you're getting links back from other websites, hopefully local websites, as well as other industry-related websites that link back to you and say, hey, go check them out. They've got something valuable to say, or they made a valuable blog post, or they did something like that. So I've got a few tips here for how you can get backlinks. Drop your questions in the comments on this one, because this is one a lot of people have confusion on. I'm happy to dive through that. But I'm going to give you a few different ways to get backlinks. And there's a bunch of different types too. But we'll hit on some of them. Social media. As soon as you start your business, or if you haven't yet, you need, Gene says it'd be nice to get a backlink from Workies. Talk to Ronnie about that. But as soon as you start your business, or even if you haven't already, make your Facebook page, make your LinkedIn profile, make your Yelp profile, and then those have a link to your website, and that's a backlink. So that's one type of backlink. Another way that you can get backlinks is to reach out to other business owners in the area, referral partners for one. Do they have, tree service, for example? You could reach out to realtors. You could reach out to landscapers, etc. And you can get them to put a link on their website to your website that says, hey, if you need tree service, call these guys. Same for junk removal, probate lawyers, real estate agents, etc. You can reach out to these people, turn them into referral partners, and then say, hey, could I have like a link back from you? Can we do a blog post for you that's around junk removal or tree removal that's valuable to their clients, and then has a link back to you? So you're typically forming some sort of a relationship with someone when you're creating a backlink, because there's something in it for you and something in it for them. Look at your service providers and your equipment providers. You could do a video review for them, or a written review, and get them to post it on their website. That helps them get more clients because you're talking nicely about them, and it links back to your website. So you could reach out to your lawyer, your accountant, your equipment or tool suppliers, your bookkeepers, and say, hey, can I leave you a written or video review? And then you could post that up on your website. Local directory listings. That's a really good one, and typically an easy one, not as much relationship building there. So in your area, there's bound to be, XYZ city local business directories. So just do a Google search for them, and then see how you can submit your listing, get on those directories. You can often fill out pictures and content around it. So there's a lot of value there. So Andrew's asking about follow versus no follow. Sometimes you don't have a choice. Obviously, do follow links are the best. That's going to provide the most juice. But no follow, you want to have some no follow as well. If you have all do follow, looks a little bit suspicious. If even the link without the follow in it, if it's just a no follow, that still provides some value. We've tested that some. There's lots of articles about that. Get them from overseas. I would highly recommend that you do some real research into where you're getting the links. When I mentioned 1,000 backlinks off Fiverr, there's a lot of quality people on Fiverr. I have nothing against that. But if you're just getting 1,000 backlinks, they're just pulling from a spreadsheet of 1,000 backlinks that they have. It could be fine websites. They're not spammy in the sense of casino or gambling or porn. But if they're just completely unrelated to your industry, it's not really going to provide a lot of authority and value to you. So if you can get those industry related, topic related, local related, you want that relevance somehow in there in that backlink. That's going to be a lot higher quality backlink. Link exchange requests, that's a topic that we can go deep on. But typically, if you find a website that you like their content, you think it's relevant to you, you can reach out and you can do what's called guest posting. So you can write an article, like I said in the example of like the realtor or the probate lawyer, you could write an article on how drunk removal or emergency tree services can help their clients, then reach out to them and say, hey, can you post it? Because it helps them, because they've got more content on their website now. It helps their clients because now they know who to reach out to, and it helps you. So it's got to be a win-win for all parties. Those are the best backlinks. And I think if you think about backlinks from a relationship perspective, instead of, hey, how can I go out and buy a bunch of backlinks, you're going to have a lot higher quality, and you're going to have fantastic backlinks as a result.
Amazing. I don't know if you touched on social signals or online reputation, but we can also go ahead and speak a bit on site structure, speed, and how important it is to be mobile friendly.
Yeah, if you're not mobile friendly, you're back in the 2020s, the early 20s, the 19s, the 18s. Google puts a lot of weight on that now, because a lot of people are going on their phones now. The majority of people are going on some sort of mobile device. You can run your business from your phone now. You don't need a computer. So people are taking advantage of that, right? So if you don't have a mobile friendly, mobile optimized, mobile first website, Google can see that when they scan your site, and they're going to put you lower in the list because of that. Because again, they want the best results, the best experience, the best everything for the person who's looking. So mobile first is important. Speed ties right into that as well. And the site structure ties into that user experience as well. Like if it's super hard to get around, if it's super hard to click the buttons on mobile, if it's super hard to kind of figure out where you are, where you need to go to get in touch with, the particular business that you're trying to get in touch with, again, that's poor user experience, and Google's not going to like that.
Definitely. Our next topic is keyword research, content creation, link building, and best practices. Tips on selecting the right keywords for your business. So if you could give us some inside tips on how to select the right keywords, perhaps you take junk removal as an example, because I think most of the people on this call are junk removal.
Yeah, for sure. And I can see I jumped ahead on a couple things here, so we've covered some of these already. But keywords, again, it goes back to they ask you answer. Yes, you can use tools. Ahrefs is a fantastic tool. SEMrush is a great tool. Neil Patel has a tool. There's lots of different keyword tools out there. Keywords Everywhere is a great starter tool. But when you're looking at keywords, you don't want to just look at what's getting the most volume or what's getting the most clicks, because those are also the ones that everyone else is going after. So long tail keywords are those longer sentences, typically, is the best way to think about it. It's a combination of words that someone's using when they search. So again, you're going to go back to the they ask you answer principle of what are people actually asking. You can go to the people also ask section in the search results that we talked about before and see what are people asking. Are they asking, how much does it cost to remove my junk in San Diego? Then write a blog post on how much does it cost to remove my junk in San Diego. Pricing is actually something that no one talks about and is one of the most commonly searched things. Think about it. If you're going to use a software like Workies, you're going to go right to their pricing page and be like, well, does this even make sense for me to use, or is it just absolutely ridiculous? Right? Any software, we do that. On Amazon, we've got the price right there. We've got the reviews. We've got all of those things. That's how we're trained as consumers. So talk about the things that, one, people are searching, like pricing, and two, what are the questions that they have? What are those burning questions? How does your scheduling work? What happens if I cancel? Do I get charged? Is a quote actually free? Or are you just coming out to upsell me on a bunch of stuff? So think about those things and really try and think about it from a consumer's perspective. Another way you can look at it too is what are the websites that are ranking doing that I'm not? With keywords and with content, one of the most important things Google looks at is not how much content you have, but what's the information gap that you have between your competitors. So you could have 5 million words on your website, but if it's all useless, you'll still rank lower than someone who has really concise, targeted content around the things that people actually care about. But think about that information gap. What am I telling my potential clients that other websites are not? Do I have more questions answered? Do I have more valuable, in-depth, unique content about that? Do I specifically walk them through every step of how to load a dumpster, or what doesn't get put in a dumpster, or what they, how they can save costs by putting everything out on the curb? These are all things that seem a little silly to talk about because you just want a website that talks about your services, but your website is such a valuable sales tool. It's a really good idea to think about these things and think about, what can I be talking about that actually answers people's questions.
Yeah, 100%. And then it's not just about, you created the website and that's it. You always need to be optimizing the website. I can tell you that on the Workies website, as you said, pricing, we know that page has a lot of traffic. We're constantly playing with the look and feel, the wording, how we're presenting the price, testing out different things all the time, because our website, as you mentioned, as so many businesses, it's one of our main entryways for people to get introduced with what Workies is and what we offer. So we're constantly trying to bring in new content, but also play with the content that exists on our website, whether that's placements or switching out the wording. So really, really good stuff. Thank you for that. Do you want to talk about the role of user engagement? I think we spoke about most of the things here.
Yeah, I think we went pretty deep on backlinks. User engagement, it goes back to the usability of it, right? People aren't going to engage if it's not usable. So that's the first step in the equation. The second one is, one of my favorite topics is video, right? I'm going to bring in, something that not a lot of people talk about in SEO, but YouTube is owned by Google. YouTube is a search engine. Your videos on YouTube can actually rank in the search results. You can put those videos on your website. So I just dropped like 5 things that you can do with video. You can shoot one video. It can just be you in your truck saying, hey, what's our pricing? How do we figure out our pricing? You can walk through. We've had clients do this. They can't give an exact pricing like, hey, our pricing is this, this, and this. But they can tell clients what influences the pricing. So then you can make a video on that and say, well, is it upstairs? We look at how far we have to walk to the truck. Is it super heavy? Do we have to dismantle it? Is it super far from our dump? So we have to drive for another half an hour. All these things go into the pricing. You can put that on YouTube. You can rank that for junk removal pricing in San Diego, for example. You can put that on your website, on your pricing page, or on any number of the service pages. Now you've got a sales tool, and you've got something that people can sit down and engage with on your website. And so now they're going to stick on that page longer. So a common stat that we look at is bounce rate, right? So does someone just come to the website and then bounce off and go back to where they were, or go back to the search results? If they stay there for a longer amount of time, that's better. Google sees that they're getting more value. They're not just, people don't stick around for something they don't want. So if they're there for 2-5 minutes on that one page, they're clearly getting value, and Google can see that. And that engagement is one of the things that, influences your search rankings.
Exactly. Great. Let's talk about how we measure SEO success. So we've inputted all of these content creations and the long tail keywords and all of the great stuff that we spoke about. How do we measure that it's actually impacting and giving value to my business? So if we could talk a little bit about key performance indicators or KPIs that a business should put in place, how to track it, what to track.
Yeah. This is a good one, and something that I see a lot of people not do well in any of their marketing. So you could be running Google ads, you could be doing flyers. If you're not using a separate phone number for each one of those avenues, you're missing out on optimization opportunities. Like that fellow that I talked about earlier that was spending $40K a month or $40K every 3 months on TV ads. He had no way to track what his ROI was on that. I can tell you his ROI wasn't great because his numbers were consistently going down. But if you're doing flyers, if you're doing SEO, if you're doing any number of these different marketing tactics, you can get different numbers to attach to each one of those different marketing channels. So then you can look at your phone calls and see, okay, tallied up by this number. Okay, this is the number that's on the website. Our numbers are down or they're up. last year versus what they were this month last year. So you need to track those things. You can also look at Search Console. That's a great way to look at, track your SEO. So you can actually look at what people are searching. If we go back to keyword research, that's a fantastic way to influence your keywords that you're using. So you can actually go in Search Console there. You can go and see how many times people are clicking on particular pages, how many times you're getting impressions for that. And you can see those numbers go up or down. Hopefully they're going up. And Google Analytics as well. It's gotten a little bit more, some people like it better, but Google recently changed their analytics platform. But you can see where people are searching from, what pages they're landing on, what their bounce rate is, what their click-through rate is. And you can see those things and watch those trends over time and watch, is it going up or is it going down? Am I headed in the right direction? So that's those are all free tools that I mentioned. Search Console, Google Analytics are free. We use Ahrefs. I like the tool a lot. SE Ranking is a great tool. Workies actually has a tool now where you can get like a snapshot of your website from an SEO perspective.
Yeah.
So if you wouldn't mind dropping that in the chat, like that's fun. I was playing around with that earlier. But there are different tools out there that don't necessarily cost a lot of money, and you can actually start watching these yourself. SEMrush is another one. Yeah. I can drop the tools after.
Yes, we'll drop everything in the chat. That this is the SEO tool, the free SEO tool that Rose just shared, that we recently came out with. But also in our product, if any of you guys are already Workies users, we have an ad tracking capability. So, we believe that what can't be measured, can't be impacted, and you can't really track the success of it. So we've got dashboards specifically for marketing efforts, where you can get like a snapshot in the product itself. But in the meantime, if you guys are not Workies users and you want to play around with our free audit tool, then Rose sent that there. And then all of the other tools, Lewis can drop them in here as well in a bit. Do you want to mention a little bit maybe about how online booking can help with website traffic?
For sure. Yeah, I'll touch on Barry's comment since we didn't catch that in the keyword. So he says use EEAT for your content guidelines. So basically that means experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. So if you can bring stats, if you can bring X number of clients that you served, if you can bring these different things that no one else can bring to the table, you automatically start checking those things off the list. And there's a world of opportunity out there if you just take a little time to think about, hey, how can I bring my expertise? Oftentimes, you guys are saying these things to customers face-to-face. So start auditing yourself when you're talking face-to-face to clients. What questions are you answering? What are you saying that's a benefit for using your service? What are you saying when they ask these different questions? That's content right there. So think about, a little guy on your shoulder taking notes, and then take that guy back to the office and write some content for your website. There's some good stuff in there. So online booking, absolutely. If you can I used to talk about how people are lazy. Now I reworded a little bit, but people like to have the least amount of friction possible to get to where they're going. We talked about this with pricing. If I'm looking at a tool and the pricing isn't on the website, sometimes if I'm really interested in the tool, I will request a sales demo. But oftentimes I'm going to move on because it's like, yeah, I just want to know right now, and it's in my stream of consciousness right now, and I want to know the answer. I've been trained as a consumer of today's society. Your customers are the same. When they come on, they either want to know pricing or they want to know if they can book right away. At the very least, they want a way to get in touch with you immediately. So, you got to answer your phones right away. But if we're talking specifically about online booking, there's a few different things. You can do texting. I'm going to kind of go in a hierarchy of, the most simple thing that you can implement up to, what Workies can do for you. You can get people to call you, click to call. You don't want that right there on the website when they land. Click to call, a way to get in touch with you via text. A way for them to fill out a quote form, and then a way for them to book is ideal, because people they have the need, and especially with junk removal, tree service, oftentimes it's a fairly urgent need. So you want them to be able to go right in there and book, and then boom, you've got them in. They don't necessarily have to book the job, even if it's just a quote, because you can't necessarily do like a massive hoarder job just going out there and booking 2 hours. You've got to go out and assess it and give them a price, right? But giving them that option allows them the ability to control their life and get it taken care of right away. Otherwise, they're going to call someone else. If you don't pick up your phone or don't give them the results right away, they're going to call someone who can.
Definitely. And, oftentimes they don't maybe want to wait. They want to go ahead and book right away. And I think with online booking, it helps business owners, actually sleep at night because they know that there's something in place that's responding to their customers and taking in that information. They're not relying on the 9 to 5 or whatever work hours they have in order to get more jobs and build their pipeline out. Um, so that's super important. I think maybe if you could share perhaps one more example of how a business that you worked with, or even your business, achieved growth with SEO, and what were the main challenges that you faced and how you were able to overcome it.
For sure. Yeah, and then I think we're coming up on time, so people can start dropping any other questions that they have too. But yeah, I mean, I mentioned ours. SEO is a key strategy and a very big thing for us going forward with Blue Crocus. We're redoing our site, should launch in a week or two, and we're going to have pricing on it. That's something that, it's weird even for me, even though I know this principle, right? But SEO is a big driver of our leads. And then, companies that we've helped, we just got a review today from a client we've been working for about a year now in San Jose. They're getting 30K plus jobs off their website. That's a big deal, guys. Those are people that are calling in or requesting a quote off their website. They've got this 24/7 salesperson. So they've got the ability to take the jobs after, someone gets there, but they're showing up where people are looking. They're going on Google, they're quickly looking at reviews, they're quickly going to the website, and then they're landing the jobs. There's another client, Pile Hauling in Delaware. We had him ranking nationally for light demolition for a second, but he did drop back down. But because he doesn't really need the national ranking, but we found a keyword that's really effective for him and gets traffic from people who are looking for that specific thing that he really wants to do. So we're looking at, we don't hit it out of the park every time. That's, we're constantly learning, but we're trying to look at what are the keywords that are getting a ton of volume, what are the things that our clients do, and you can do this for yourself. And then where's that meet in the middle point where you can write blog posts, you can write content, you can write service pages around those things that might not necessarily get a ton of traffic, but when you can get them to rank, boom, you got super, people that are really, really needing that service right now. Their intent is very, very dialed in. So that's a couple examples. I could go on, but I know we're getting down on time here.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Lewis. Let's open the floor for more questions. If anybody has, please pop them in the chat. And let's give a few seconds to see if anybody has any last minute questions that we didn't address. Oh, Lewis, maybe in the meantime, you could drop in some of the names of the tools that you mentioned.
Oh, yeah. I'll drop them here.
And while you do that, I'll read some of the questions coming in. So Charles is asking, how do you build a good external backlink? Is there a way or software for us to create external backlinks for our website?
There's not a software that I found. I would love for there to be a software that created good backlinks and also did it automatically. That would solve every marketer's, that's probably the most labor intensive part of what we do, right? Is forming those relationships for backlinks. I'd love to know the software, Barry. What I've seen from the software is typically those are not very relevant, topically relevant, or local. So I'd love to be proven wrong. I'm all ears. I'm constantly learning. Backlinks is something I'm diving into heavily again with our agency. But one of the best ways, I went through a bunch of those different ways and to get backlinks, and those are some of the most impactful. They can be low scoring websites if you're looking on Ahrefs and looking at their domain rating. They might be like a 15 or a 20 if they're a local website, but the fact that they're local and talking about you is so impactful. We did this with our junk removal company. I got a bunch of what would normally be considered very low impact backlinks, but because they were so relevant, it just took us right up really fast.
Perfect. Scott is asking, how important is it to have a physical address on Google when a business doesn't actually have a physical location?
This one goes back and forth. Google switches back and forth on this. If you can show your address, I do think you get a better ranking from what we've seen. But if you can't, there's nothing wrong with having a service area business. Just make that service area, right where you serve, and then optimize your business listing like you would. Google still knows where that address is, even if it's hidden to the public. So, they still see that all in the back end, and they're going to take that into account when people are searching. Even if they're searching nearby, Google knows how far they are relatively away from you, even if you don't show it.
Got it.
Barry, I was hoping you'd keep typing because I'm wanting to see that software now.
All right. Well, we are right at time. Actually, we're a bit over time, but we will wait to see if Barry says privately.
Privately.
Later.
You know how to find me on bluecrocus.ca. But yeah, reach out. I'd love to chat. Maybe we'll have to bring you on the podcast.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining, and thank you so much for being engaged and asking us your questions. It made the session a lot more interesting for us to run as well. Thank you so much, Lewis, for taking the time out to really walk everybody through SEO and all of the knowledge that you shared with us. We, as always, record these webinars. So we'll be sending the webinar recording to you guys, and we'll also be promoting it on our website as an SEO tool as well, so that whenever somebody asks about SEO and field service, hopefully they'll be drawn to our website as well. And so again, thank you so much. You have Lewis's contact, and you will be given the recording. And in 2 weeks, we have a webinar coming up with Cool Care about labor protection plans. It's more specific for HVAC. So for the HVAC folks that joined, if you want to join that webinar, that would be great. I won't be hosting it. Ed from Team Workies will host it. But again, thanks everybody so much for joining, and we'll see you next time.
See you guys.
Bye, guys.